Yo, what's good, guys? It's Austin here, or Luna. So today's story time is definitely an interesting one and just an insane one. I hope you enjoy it. Leave a like on the video if you do, and let's get into it. So today's story time all takes place in 2017. Now, in 2017, my daily routine consisted of just doing YouTube videos and just working on YouTube, streaming, all that kind of stuff. Really, nothing out of the ordinary from what I currently do. Maybe I stream a little bit less now, but back then I was streaming a lot and nothing was really going on that was that interesting at the time. But one day in 2017, I'm sitting in my room on my phone, just got done making a YouTube video. I was just literally taking a break, laying down on my phone, scrolling Twitter, just doing, what I normally would do after I was done making videos. And a homie hit me up. Let's call his friend Logan. Now, Logan hits me up and he's like, yo, dude, you're never going to guess what I just found in my little brother's room. And Logan's little brother was only a year younger than we were. Me and Logan were both 19, and his little brother was 18. So he wasn't much of a little brother, you know what I mean? And I was like, what is it? And he goes, bro, I found weed in his room. And I was like, oh, cool. What about it? Because, dude, this kid's 18. I don't know. He's an adult. He can do what he wants. And he goes, oh, I don't know, man. He just never seemed like the type of kid that would smoke weed. I was, and obviously, my friends were, but never him. I was like, well, bro, what do you expect? He's 18 years old. He was going to try it at some point in his life. And he's like, yeah, man, but you know what I mean? He just never seemed like the type. And I can't lie. Logan was right about that. His little brother was always very straight edge, very by the book living. He didn't really stray far off the good path. You know what I mean? So it was odd to hear that he had weed in his room. But at the same time, like I just said, he was 18 years old. He had to try it at some point in his life. So I asked Logan, I'm like, well, are you sure? This is a new thing? Maybe he's been smoking for years and we just never knew. He's like, nah, man, I already talked to him about it. He told me he hadn't even tried it yet, and he was going to try it this weekend. But, I took it from him because I didn't trust him. I was like, bro, you stole his weed? He's like, yeah, man, I don't want him doing that shit. He's too young. I'm like, bro, he's 18. What are you on about? I'm like, bro, you're literally 19, and you've been smoking weed for 5 years straight. You literally started when you actually were too young to start. And he's like, yeah, I guess, but, I don't know. I don't want him to do that. I'm like, well, he's not going to do that because he's 8 fucking teen. See the math here? You started at 14. He's starting at 18. He's also an adult. You can't take his stuff. He goes, yeah, I can, especially if it's illegal. I'm like, okay, Logan, I'm going to use that same logic next time me and you are smoking together. I'm just going to steal your weed, put it in my pocket, and take it home because it's illegal and now it's mine and I'm going to smoke it because you're too young. And while I'm talking to him on the phone, his brother walks in the room, his little brother. And I was like, yo, put your little brother on the phone. He's like, okay. So he puts his little brother on the phone. I'm like, yo, so Logan told me you found weed in your room and he took it. He's like, yeah, man, he won't give it back. I'm like, okay, well, I'm talking to Logan right now. He's going to give it back to you. Don't worry. And he goes, all right, man, good luck. And he hands the phone back to Logan. And I basically just tell Logan, I'm like, bro, give him his weed back. He's an 18-year-old dude. He's a full-grown adult at this point. Give him his fucking weed back. Let him make his own decisions. Let him learn his own lessons. Stop trying to interfere with his life. And Logan's like, fine, bro, fine. I'll give it back, but under one condition. We have to be there when he smokes for the first time, and we're smoking with him to make sure he's doing it right and to make sure this shit is good. And I was like, okay. So later that night, I went over to Logan's house, hung out with him and his little brother. We went in the backyard, and we started packing this bowl with the weed that Logan got. Now, I can't lie. When I was looking at it, it was pretty dark out, so I couldn't really see what it looked like. But it smelled really good, and I looked over at Logan, and I was like, yo, I can't really see it, but it smells good. Did it look good earlier when you saw it in the day? He's like, yeah, man, it looks like good shit. I think it's solid. And I'm like, okay. So we pack this bowl. Logan goes to take the first hit, and his little brother interrupts him. And he goes, hey, man, I should be able to hit it first. It's my stuff. And Logan goes, okay, fine. All right, fine. And he hands him the bowl, and Logan's little brother takes the lighter and starts ripping it, right? And he takes a hit. He holds it in for 10 seconds, which in my opinion is just completely unnecessary. You don't even need to hold weed in like that. And he blows it out. And when he blows it out, he doesn't have a reaction I expect. Most people, they blow it out, they cough a little bit, and, they kind of just, sit there and let it kind of, wash over them in a way. But he took a hit, he exhaled, and almost immediately, he started to drop the bowl. It fell out of his hand, it started rolling down his shirt, and, it was still kind of lit, so, there was cherries on him, and I grabbed it, and I brushed it off his shirt, and he starts slumping down in the chair and, drooling. And me and Logan look at each other, because we're like, what the fuck, this is not a normal reaction to hitting a bowl. And then we look at his little brother, and he's slumping down the chair, he's drooling, and he starts laughing hysterically. And we're looking at each other like, okay, maybe this is a normal reaction. Maybe he's just, really hit quickly by weed. I don't know, right? We were really confused. But then the laughing turned to screaming. He starts hysterically screaming like somebody's, doing something terrible to him, right? And me and Logan start freaking out. We run over there, and we, get down next to him. We're kneeling down. We're, holding his head steady because he's shaking his head. And we're like, yo, man, like, calm down, calm down. Like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he won't talk to us. He's screaming. He's like throwing his arms around. He's like just freaking out. And then while he's screaming, he starts pointing down to the grass at nothing. And when he did this, a thought popped in my mind, a memory, not a very good one. Seeing Logan's little brother act like this looked just like a bad salvia trip, like almost identical to when I did it and my friends did it and everyone I've ever seen do it. Like if they have a bad trip, they usually start like freaking out and like looking at something and screaming or like waving their arms around and like slouching down in their chair like that. Like all of it just looked like textbook bad salvia trip symptoms, right? Now, we end up sitting there for like 10 minutes with Logan's little brother as he calms down. And luckily, after 10, 15 minutes, he started to calm down. And that's when I also realized, like, okay, this probably is salvia because usually salvia lasts that long. And when his little brother came out of it and kind of came to, and he was like talking again, I asked him, I was like, yo, have you ever done salvia? He's like, nah, what's that? He didn't even know what it was. And I was like, all right, yo, where's that weed at? Like, I need to look at it. And he pulls the weed out that he had in his pocket. He gives it to me. And I put it under my phone flashlight. After looking at it, I think that there was salvia mixed in with the weed because there was a lot of things in the bag that looked like stems and looked like, you know, parts of the weed plant that you wouldn't want. And salvia kind of looks like that. And also, I kept smelling it after this. And the more and more I smelled it, the more and more, like, I smelled hints of what salvia kind of smells like, which is like a minty kind of like sagey smell. I don't know how to explain it well, but it's like that. And I felt so bad for a million reasons. One, because I smelled it earlier and I didn't smell that kind of like salvia smell. And I also didn't really look at it, and I should have. Two, I literally made my friend give his little brother his weed back because he's 18 and I thought, you know, he can make his own decisions. And three, that he took the first hit. Like, I could have done it, my friend could have done it, we could have been the testers, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, Logan's brother took the first hit, and he ended up having this bad trip, and yeah, I think he got, like, his shit laced with salvia. So I asked him after this happened, I was like, yo, can I get your dealer's number? He's like, yeah, sure. So I get this kid's number, the dealer that sold it to him, and I hit him up, and I was like, hey man, I'm friends with Logan's little brother. I said his name, and he's like, all right, bet, what you need? I was like, do you sell salvia? And immediately he responds, he goes, yeah. Do you want straight or a mixed bag? And I was like, what's a mixed bag? He goes, mixed with weed. And I was like, what? And that just confirmed it for me. I was like, oh, he's selling like mixed weed and salvia bags. And I guarantee he either accidentally sold one to Logan's little brother or he did it on purpose. So I called him out. I was like, yo, my homie's little brother, and I said his name. I was like, this kid that put me on to you just smoked some of your shit and immediately had the worst trip I've ever seen. We thought he was dying for like 10 minutes straight, literally almost called an ambulance. So, what did you give him? He's like, just normal weed. I was like, nah, you didn't, bro. You gave him salvia. It was like textbook salvia symptoms. Like, you for sure accidentally gave him salvia with weed or something. He goes, oh, fuck, man. Like, my bad. Like, I keep him in the same kind of area. I must have grabbed one by accident and gave it to him. I was like, yo, that's not like a my bad thing. Like, you fucked up really bad. Like, you need to, like, make it up to him somehow. And he pulled up, like, 15 minutes later, gave Logan's little brother his money back with 20 on top of what he paid him. So he gave him extra money. He gave him a free bag of weed and told him he was so sorry and like he'll do anything to make it up to him. I didn't know this at the time, but I guess the dealer was also Logan's little brother's like friend. Like they were friends before anything. So he actually was really sorry about it. And it was an accident. I could tell by the way he was talking. But that's like not a good accident to make, you know what I mean? Like that's really not okay. And that's probably why you just should never have salvia ever and even associate with that shit. Like just don't buy it, don't go anywhere near it, don't touch it. Like that shit is bad news. Like they made it illegal in many states for many reasons, that being one of them. It causes very awful hallucinations to say the least. And probably a bunch of other things too. But anyway, yeah, the dealer ended up giving Logan's little brother's money back with money on top of that. He gave him free weed. He said sorry. They like made up. After that, the dealer ended up leaving, and that was pretty much that. And after the dealer left, Logan's little brother looked at me and he's like, yo, I'm not touching that free weed he gave me. I was like, yeah, I wouldn't either, bro. Like, fuck, you might smoke it and have a horrible trip again. He's like, yeah, man, I'm not trying to go into like La La Land again. And I was like, yo, so I gotta ask, like, do you remember anything about it? Like, what'd you see? He's like, dude, it literally looked like the grass had mouths and they were trying to bite my feet. That kind of explained why he was pointing at the grass and screaming hysterically. He literally thought the grass was a bunch of monsters trying to eat at his feet and his legs and stuff. Like, if that is not the most terrifying thing, like, holy shit. But yeah, guys, everything was okay in the end, luckily. I can say with 100% confidence, Logan's little brother has never tried to smoke weed again because his first ever experience was traumatizing, and I feel bad for him. And yeah, moral of the story is don't get a near salvia. That shit is bad news. Stay away from it. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much the end of the story time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below. And subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys later. Peace.
Baby, I'm damaged, I cannot plan this. Won't you be my